Welcome to The Aside, short conversations with authors just off the page. I'm Valerie Beal. I'm an author myself, but I was trained as a journalist. So here I get to channel my insatiable curiosity, some might say nosiness. Each episode features a focused conversation with an author about their stories, along with some potentially quirky questions you might not be expecting. If you love reading, writing, or simply learning a little more about some of your favorite authors, you are in the right place. Let's step off the page and begin. Today, I am joined by author Tim Chapman. He is author of the Sean McKinney novels, A Trace of Gold and The Blue Silence, along with many shorter pieces in anthologies and collections. His middle grade novels have received award accolades with Outcasts, recently, right? A finalist for the Chanticleer Gertrude Warner Award. So welcome to this fun little interview thing that I've created. I send these questions in advance. I'm trying to do, just ask questions that we don't always get asked as authors, because we get asked the same questions a lot, I think.
Right. Yeah.
What's
your writing process?
Yeah. When did you start writing?
Right.
What
Yeah.
led you to writing? What was your initial inspiration for your first book? Okay, we're not doing that here.
Thank goodness.
I'm always fascinated because you were a forensic scientist for the Chicago Police Department.
Right.
I love it when people who have worked in law enforcement then write crime fiction because you have just so much knowledge. But instead of the question that you think I'm going to ask, or maybe the listeners are thinking I'm going to ask, I'm curious if you think that that experience has ever hindered your writing process, like maybe you know too much about the process. I don't know. I'm curious.
Um, well, the short answer, no. But so here's the thing. Forensic scientists, at least when I was working as one back in the 1990s, and particularly in Chicago Police Department and Illinois State Police, spend almost all their time in the lab. So
Mm-hmm.
the people who gather the evidence, unlike on TV, are usually sworn officers. We get the evidence in. Our job is the most objective job in all of the justice system. We're just supposed to analyze a piece of physical evidence and associate it with an event. And so in the first McKinney novel, things things go awry. You know, everybody has their role. The police, the detectives, um, they're they're convinced of the guilt of the person that they've arrested. The defense, that person's job is simply to advocate for the defendant. The prosecution, they're simply to advocate for the state. And no matter what, that's what they do, whether they know the person is guilty or innocent. Our job is simply to present this evidence and explain how it relates to the event. But what do you do when you feel like the evidence is going to exculpate the defendant, but that evidence hasn't been shared with the defense? So that is what the first McKinney novel is about. Instead of being a totally objective participant, he has to step outside of his purview, and he goes to court. He hands over his evidence to the defense. He gets in trouble for that, and then he decides he's going to investigate because he wants to prove this young man who's been accused of a murder didn't do it. So back then, when I was first writing this, all of my knowledge of forensic science was still in play. The field has changed so much. My wife
Mm-hmm.
is a forensic scientist too, and um, so she lasted in the field much longer than I did. I've had several other careers since then. So now when I'm writing, I have to go to her and say, is this still something that would happen? Is this still the way it works? So at this point, not only do I not have the knowledge of police investigations, I also don't have up-to-date knowledge of forensic science. So I have to get information from her and from her lab partners. So,
Well, things have changed a lot. I mean, technology has
yep,
advanced so much
yeah,
that I think, we joke a little bit about like sometimes our plots that we initially come up with don't work with the current technology. So we have to put people in like cell phone dead zones or, whatever
hmm
to make things work. But I think too, when people from different professions read a fiction novel of any type that has their career in it or their area of professional expertise in it, they're hard to please. They'll be picky,
Oh
right?
yeah.
those are
Yeah,
the
my
those are
wife
the readers
cannot
we hear
watch
from.
CSI or any of those programs on TV because she just gets furious, like, wait a minute, this analysis with the backlog that labs have would take 2 or 3 months, not the 2 or 3 days that it happened on TV.
Oh,
You
I
know.
like it when they show up with like the, season tickets or something to get a lab guy to do something
Yeah,
faster.
right. Yeah. Yeah,
And he's like,
let me slip you a carton of cigarettes. Yeah. Oh, sure. Here's your information. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. I mean, and even just the average, the lay person knows labs are backed up, right?
Right.
So, I thought what was fascinating, and I didn't put this down as a question, but I thought what was fascinating for me as someone who's never worked in law enforcement or really has had any experience with that is going to conferences where they have those detailed, like sort of, police academy training type things for
hmm
writers. And they walked through like how many samples they might take, like, blood spatter evidence or something. And they don't process it all. You process a couple. And I was like, oh, like I'm making assumptions, right? Based on probably bad fiction TV on how things work. I just think it's really interesting, but I was very curious about you bringing, that expertise to your writing. But you've shifted though. I mean, you've done a lot of different things since then too, but
Yeah.
you've shifted now. Your last two books, which I have had the privilege to read and loved, are for the younger audience. So like what made you want to write for younger readers?
Two things. First of all, when I was a kid, I loved reading. I was one of those kids who got under the covers with a flashlight, and
Yeah.
stayed up way past my bedtime reading. Um, but even the adult stuff, the McKinney novels, everything that I write kind of has some sort of message attached to it. You know, be kind, be
Mhm.
brave, um, be honest, don't be greedy. All of that stuff that I include in my novels for adults translates really well to kids and probably better. Adults don't like being preached at. Kids can stand it a little bit more because they're preached at all the time by adults. I try not to sound preachy when I'm writing, but there's always something there. And I also think that the handful of books that I've read for middle grade students, kids who are like ages, I don't know, 9 through 11 or 12, something like that.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
think that they kind of dumb the language down, which do- they don't have to do. Kids are smart. And if they come across words or phrases that they don't understand, they'll ask.
Mhm.
So the two middle grade books I've written don't dumb the language down for kids. They have strong messages about how to be a good person, and I think that they're kind of they lean towards adventure. One of them is
Mhm.
a typical fantasy adventure novel, but the other one is a contemporary novel about a kid dealing with the sort of problems that kids have to deal with today. But both of them, um, hopefully, kids will find kind of exciting. The books that I read as a kid um, were exciting.
I love them both, and I was really excited to read those, in their earlier stages. Are either of them are they out yet? No.
No, I had wanted to uh, get them out in April, but now I'm thinking it's looking more like end of May, maybe.
Oh, that'll work. You'll catch the summer reading season for kids.
Yeah.
So That'll work. What's interesting too is like you talk about like, your themes of different themes, like, teaching themes, confidence or, the kindness or, I mean, like anything where you want any reader to come away with a message or a hopefulness. But you wrap these up in the fiction storytelling in a way that it doesn't feel preachy at all. I didn't
Oh,
think. I just
I'm
thought,
glad to hear
I
you
just
say that.
thought it
Good.
was very natural and you were with the characters as they gained confidence, as they, showed their bravery or, and they're very different. The fantasy novel is a delight, a delightful world building and so many fun new words and phrases because of the world you've built and the creatures in this world. And that was really fun for me because I write fantasy, but I don't write like high fantasy where I create a different world. So I was like, ooh,
Mhm.
this is cool. So I'm wishing you best of luck with those because
Thank
they're
you.
super fun. And we'll see what happens with that Chanticleer Award. I would sure love to see you rise to the top on that one. So we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
I'm
see.
excited.
The group's gotten much smaller now that you're a finalist. There's not that many people left, not that many stories left
Right.
in there.
Yeah.
So,
And I think that like of the dozen or so people that are left, it's in different categories. So
oh,
I don't know how many are in the fantasy category with me. Maybe, I don't know, four or five. So we'll see.
yeah, we'll see. Ooh,
Yeah.
hey, good luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
So one thing too that, and you've mentioned this a little bit, that you've done a lot of different things. When anyone looks at your website, you have very interesting set of tabs or pages across the top of your website. And I like this because none of us are just one thing. And often authors will just have their author website, but you get to know them and they do all these other things and they've segregated it, out into different areas. But that's not who we are. And I think that you present a full picture of your interest areas. So for people who haven't been on your website, you have art, which includes painting and pottery. You have photography. You have Tai Chi. You have your Lit Bop literary journal,
Hmm.
which you're the editor of. So I'm always curious. I mean, these are all creative endeavors, right? In many ways, or well, I guess Tai Chi isn't necessarily creative, but it definitely leads you to sort of a state of being, right? That probably helps creativity, I think.
Hmm.
So, in what ways do you feel like these different areas influence your creativity?
They all sort of are tied together.
Mm,
Uh, Painting and photography require um, an eye, a kind of a discerning eye, being able to not only look for detail, but also to look for the key elements of a
mhm.
picture.
Yep.
And that kind of helps translate into being able to write um, descriptive scenes that help a reader visualize something, but at the same time, don't drag on and bore them. Um,
Mhm.
I think that's a fine balance that authors have. How much description do you write? So I think that the art and photography um, has helped me to do that. Um, so in all of the novels I've written, both the adult and the middle grade novels,
Mhm.
there's some action, some fight scene, and I've been studying
Ah,
and or teaching martial arts for 46 years now, um, and that's helped me write fight scenes that I think are reasonably realistic. I mean,
mhm.
certainly in fiction, you want to really blow things up so that uh, they're more exciting than they would be in real life. But I think that's helped. Um, editing Litbop.
Mhm.
So the the full-time job that I retired out of was actually teaching college English,
Mhm.
and so grading tons and tons of papers and editing this magazine has helped me learn to be um, stricter with myself in terms of editing my own work. And you know, I always miss stuff. It's amazing that 10 years of grading student papers and I still, miss a lot of punctuation, of my own errors. So I have to have, an outside editor check that stuff out. But um, seeing other people's work, particularly the poetry, the poets in Lit Bop have kind of opened my
Hmm.
eyes to, a whole different way of writing. I'm a really lousy poet, but
Yeah, I am too. It's not a good thing.
it's hard. It's hard to do well, and we have some really good poets, in this magazine. We just put out the fifth issue, and
Mm.
so, I'm learning a lot from them as well.
Yeah, it's a delightful publication. People should check it out, and I'll link to that so people can find
Oh,
it
thank you.
online. But yeah, I admire poets an awful lot. But I love that. I love the fight scene stuff. So I mean, there are times I am standing up in my office, which is where I am right now, and I'm trying to figure out how to describe something if somebody's fighting, and like, okay, they're going to do this, and it's. I mean, you got to think it through to make it sound plausible, right?
Hmm.
So just your body awareness as someone who's done martial arts, I mean, like that makes a lot of sense. I didn't even think about the connection there and how much that
Yeah.
helps.
One thing
So,
I did with those skills for a while was I was a fight choreographer for a small circus troupe. And so that really, made me think about, well, how would I stage a scene? Not a real fight, but something that is being presented to an audience. And it's the same thing trying to stage a scene to present to a reader. So,
so at one point, so I've been involved with community theater here in our hometown, and at one point we had a director who brought in, and this was like sort of a Shakespearean spoof kind of show, but brought in like a fight coordinator, and I mean, we had a range of age from teenagers up to adults because it was community theater, and everybody just loved that workshop because
oh, I bet.
I mean, and it actually, I mean, it made the play so much better because nobody was fumbling around with those scenes. It was so cool. I
Hmm.
was like, oh man, this is so great that we had somebody thinking that there are people like, I guess I didn't even know at that point that there was such a thing. Like you
Oh,
can
yeah.
hire someone to run a workshop to teach actors how to like fake fight authentically.
Yeah. So especially if they're using, weapons like swords on stage,
Yes.
it's the two extremes without, some kind of fight training are either it looks really, really fake or somebody gets poked in the eye. So,
Exactly.
you know,
And neither is good. One is
right.
more dangerous or, raises your insurance policies for the, but
Yeah.
yeah. And we've watched those where you're like, oh, cringy. That was cringy. That was bad. Somebody should have helped them out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super fun. I think for me, because I'm not like a painter, I don't do a lot of things artistically, but just shifting gears sometimes helps me if I'm ever stuck with my writing.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
ever do that? Like where you're stuck with your writing and you're like, I'm going to just leave this be and I'm going to go do something creative in a different way.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and sometimes, like if I'm really stuck in the middle of working on a novel, I'll
Mhm.
put it aside and write a short story. Um,
Yes,
that's a nice palate cleanser.
it really is. Do you like flash fiction? Really super short stuff?
I do. Absolutely, I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that something about writing, you get 1,000 words, like here's your prompt, go. I love that. And I've used that as like just switch it up, put my brain into a different gear, and then hopefully I can come back to my main project with fresh eyes. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I love that.
cool. Okay, so this is a question. I don't know if you've thought about this, but I did give you the questions in advance, so maybe now you've thought about it. If there was a TV series or a movie option on any of your books, have you thought about who might play a character?
I hadn't until you sent me that question. So last night I gave it some thought. Um, so the two actors that I would want to play my adult protagonist, Sean McKinney, the forensic scientist, would either be Leonardo DiCaprio or preferably Robert Downey Jr. because I loved the two Sherlock Holmes movies he did. Um, I thought that was a really interesting take on Sherlock Holmes, just as quirky as Jeremy Brett or Basil Rathbone, but at the same time, a lot more down to earth. So
Yes.
I liked him as a character. The other main character from the McKinney novels is his daughter, who
Mhm.
I like to have characters grow as both age and grow. So she is older in the second McKinney novel than she is in the first one. And I think I have a third one in me in which she will be
Oh,
an adult.
good.
She will be an adult, and McKinney will have retired to Santa Monica, where he spends his days kayaking and teaching Tai Chi, which is something I'd like to do.
Mhm.
But anyway, so I don't know a lot about child actors, but the two that I've seen are Akira Akbar from Captain Marvel, who I thought was pretty good. And then I had to look her up. There's a young actress from Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the TV show,
Mhm.
named, I wrote it down, Leigh Sava Jeffries. Um, and I think that either of those two would be good. But like I said, I don't know much about child actors these days. And by the time a McKinney movie would get made, um, Robert Downey Jr. would be too old to play it, and these child actors would be young women. So
But still,
but
it's
but
fun to
yeah, it's
dream.
nice to fantasize. You're right. It's nice to fantasize.
I like asking that question because everyone's like, "Oh, wouldn't this be fun?" We all dream of that special call. Hey, that's
Yeah,
not fake because we get a lot of fake emails. I'm sure you do too
every
about,
day.
hey.
Every day there's somebody who says he could, put one of my books on the bestseller list, New York Times
Yeah.
bestseller list, and I'm sure that the $1,000 or whatever those people want to charge would be well spent.
Oh, yes, I'm sure. I am
Yeah,
so sure. And, I'm positive Nora Roberts, nor Reese Witherspoon, or Oprah Winfrey are emailing me.
yeah, right. Yeah, and,
Happy at
and
Oprah9483 at gmail.com.
and it's amazing how poor the grammar is from those famous people, isn't it?
I'm just like,
Yeah.
but it's like playing whack-a-mole. It's just a frustration every day. And I wonder if maybe I have missed a real email from someone because I'm just like, eh. And I delete, 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 delete.
Right. Yeah.
So, if you're listening to this and you emailed me and you're a real person and you want to feature me in your book club, send me another note because
Yeah.
I've deleted you. Okay, so I'm curious if there is something about your writing process that you think is really weird.
There is. So um, when I was teaching college English for the fiction classes, I would take my students down to the cafeteria and I would tell them, be very careful not to give yourself away, but I want you to take notes and eavesdrop on the conversation at the table next to you. This is a great way to not get specific dialogue, but to get the feel of the flow of dialogue. So I still do that when I'm out at a restaurant or in a store or something. I'll eavesdrop on people's conversations. The one that I really want to use, and I don't know when I'll have an opportunity to do it, but I heard two men talking in a coffee shop, and one of them was talking about a vacation he had taken with his new girlfriend, and he had suggested that they have some romantic walk along the beach, walking in the surf hand in hand. Um, and it didn't work out the way he had wanted because she's afraid of birds. And so he had to walk 10 feet ahead of her, shooing the birds away the whole time they walked. And as you can imagine, that was not the romantic walk he had wanted. So I'm looking forward to someday being able to use that in a story.
that's that's awesome. He had good plans. He had good intentions.
He
It just
did.
didn't work out.
Spoiled by birds.
But it is true. And I teach even, I teach younger kids. I teach middle schoolers how to write. And when we get to the dialogue section, they love it. And we usually have like blank cartoon like slides or panels, I guess you'd call it, with
Hmm.
two little figures. And we, play and I give them a prompt and they like write the dialogue. And then we talk about it. Like, you don't talk in complete sentences all the time, right? Right. Like you don't say, you don't do the mundane stuff all the time in the story. Like you might say, hey, how are you? I'm fine. Whatever, you're opening your locker, shutting your locker, whatever. But then we talk about, you don't have to do the mundane stuff. You can get to the good stuff, like what's the heart of the conversation. But
Yeah,
they love that exercise so much and they don't mind being edited. They're very malleable. They're like very easy to be like to teach really. So I love that. That's one of my favorite things
that's
to
great
teach is
because
dialogue.
as an editor, I find that a lot of people are really resistant to the editing process. So like getting them when they're young and, hey, here's another way of thinking about what you're trying to say is great. I like that.
Well, and people just get a little too precious sometimes about what they've written.
Yeah.
Maybe, I come from a journalism background, and so people have been editing me forever. Like it doesn't matter. I don't get, too upset about it. I mean,
Mhm.
there's hills I will die on, right? About content or things that I definitely need in there. But, if people are coming back to you and more than one person is saying something about a piece of something in your work, you better start listening. If it's not a one-off, right? On the
Yeah.
editing
Yeah,
process.
exactly.
So okay, so is there one writing rule that you will, your hill to die on that you absolutely believe in and one that you always break
Um,
or often break?
yeah, kind of. So one of the more common themes that you will often hear presented to writers is write what you know.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that it's often misinterpreted. Um,
Hmm.
People think write what you know means, well, if I'm not a brain surgeon, I can't write a character who is a brain surgeon. And that's absolutely not true. I mean, you can interview brain surgeons. There's plenty of information on the internet today. You can go to a medical college and look through their library. You can write realistically about being a brain surgeon. Write what you know means um, put yourself into your characters. If your
Hmm.
character is expressing an emotional moment, joy, sadness, love, hate, whatever, you got to dig down into yourself and find where you've experienced those things and try and put your experience into your character. Try and translate that. It's kind of like being a method actor. You know,
Hmm. Yeah.
you have to be honest with yourself so that your character can be honest in the book. So,
Yeah.
so that
I think,
that's the thing that I think in terms of writing advice.
well,
Um,
and I think that's true. Who is it recently? Kathleen Donnelly, a fellow Blackbird writer. She had talked about a really, really scary thing that happened when she was basically like pet sitting, but doing the house sitting, but with pets because she writes books with animals and stuff in them, and how she uses that for like remembering that terrifying, like that gut terrifying feeling that she had when someone was trying to break into the house.
yeah,
So. And then you're right. The other things we can learn, we can fact find. But if you don't have that emotional core, like that thread, so
hmm
I
right.
agree. So that's the one you believe that's made to be broken. Is there one that you think that you always follow, like a writing rule? Are you
Um,
an Oxford comma guy?
well, I am.
I am too.
Yeah, good. Glad to hear it.
Okay, we agree. Is that
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like, I don't know how people can write without the Oxford comma. I think it gets you into trouble. So
it does. Yeah, I think so. But like I said, I'm always making punctuation mistakes, and particularly when it comes to commas. So yeah, I like it when an editor says, "Hey, this is a run-on sentence, dude." So, yeah,
yeah, I am not particularly strong comma person myself. It's something I always have to double check. It's hard to edit your own work. You can be a really good editor of other people's work and not see it in your own work. We're just
yeah.
too close to it. So,
So I have a
yeah.
question for you then. You say you write really
Yeah.
fast. So um, I write slowly. So I feel like if I was to compare my writing to sculpture, it would be I'm building it up rather than cutting away. So
Mhm.
I had a class with a writer, Alexander Heyman, and he's the exact opposite. He like chips away at a block of marble. He writes a ton of stuff and then he goes in and deletes. Is that what you do?
Yes, I'm more like that than I am writing lean and needing to add. Um, I think I was more like that in the beginning. Like my very first book I ever wrote was like 125,000 words, and I was way over. And I ended up, I think I cut that down to like 87,000 or something.
Hmm.
That was a chore, right? But I didn't know what I was doing. It was the first book I ever wrote. I think now at times I have to. There's certain scenes that are too lean when I'm writing quickly and I have to go back in and add in like the emotion, like all the facts are there, but I don't have any emotional impact. And I need to
Mhm.
go back in and write the internal, feelings in the, the
Okay, so
introspection.
that's kind
Yeah.
of the way I write. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I wind up writing lean and then going back, and mostly what I'm adding is description and action. So,
Yes. Yes. And I always try to, and this, I think teaching has helped me write better scenes with more senses, to not just use, sight, to go back in and like, and I tell kids that I'm teaching, what does it smell like there? Does the air smell funny?
right,
Does,
yeah,
you know, and like what, what does it feel like? Is there wind? Is there, whatever. So, it's kind of a fun thing, and I just think it's made me better at those scenes. But okay, so would you ever or could you ever quit writing? And do you ever wish you could?
yeah. Um, so, so, so I don't think it's that I could give it up altogether, but
Mhm.
um, I've got a couple of projects that I'm working on right now, and I'm looking forward to finishing those so that I
Mhm.
can take a break from writing and get a little more serious about my painting.
Oh,
Um,
that's fun.
yeah, spend a little time with that, and maybe while I'm doing that, work on some short stories. So, um, yeah, I find that I can't devote enough time to everything all at once. I have to, pare it down. So, um, I've got an adult novel that I've been working on for a long time.
Mhm.
I want to finish, and I have a television pilot that I'm working on with my wife. It was her idea. I'm just writing the dialogue. So when I get those two things pulled together, then maybe I can do some painting.
There you go. There you go. But it is, I think that the idea of like the multitasking mindset of like the age that we're in is really a fallacy. I think that when we try to do too many things, like our brains aren't really meant to do that. Like it's
Hmm.
hard to fragment our focus that way. And I'm the same way though. I mean, I need to be focused on a project, I think, to do it justice. And that's
Right.
why like I'm better now if I can block out time to focus on a book in a shorter time frame. I think the writing is, well, less frustrating, right? Because you're not having to re-enter the story all the time after longer breaks. But I think the writing's better. So I think immersing yourself into the, any project is going to have a better outcome. So
Yeah.
I love your
Yeah.
art. I love your paintings. That
Oh,
was
thank you.
fun. I'll
Thank you.
put the website link so people can go check out all your endeavors over there.
Oh, good.
So what are you currently reading? I'm always curious.
So I'm not currently reading anything, but my wife is reading the new Michael Pollan book, A World Appears. So
Oh,
he's going to be speaking down here at Tulane this weekend. We're going to go hear him. And she's shared a little bit with me, and I'm looking forward to reading it myself when she's finished. It's interviews with neurologists and psychologists and a whole variety of scientists about what exactly is consciousness, how do we define
mm,
it, how do we measure it, and the book is broken up into different sections, sentience and feelings, and it just sounds fascinating. So
it does.
I'm looking forward to digging into that. Um, and what was the second half of your question? Oh, what am I
The second
working on?
half is what, but you said kind of you're working on this
So
this pilot.
so the
Yeah.
TV pilot. So
Mhm.
we have a first draft of it, and essentially the idea is a group of women forensic scientists feel like they have been sidelined by the old boys network in criminal justice, and they decide to open their own independent lab. Um, so we had a great first draft of it, and then we realized There are a lot of women lab directors these days, so maybe we need to take it and set it in a different time period. So we're going to rewrite it for the 60s, which,
There you go.
having grown up in the 60s, I have a lot of information about, and I think it'll be more interesting and more accurate in terms of the way that women were treated in the justice system back then.
I would love to read that or watch that. And is it fun to work with your spouse on a project?
Yeah, so that's a loaded
Should I not
question.
ask?
That's a loaded question. It really is. It really is. She had like this vision, and kind of laid it out for me. We had a whiteboard with notes and all of that stuff. We worked together plotting it. She came up with the idea and the characters, and I'm basically writing the dialogue. And so far, she has not objected to about 90% of the dialogue that I've written. So, it's working out.
I guess it's a good partnership in this project as well, then. So
Yes.
it's not everybody can work on projects with their spouse, though. Like, it's just not. So that's really awesome that you're doing
Well,
this
I
together.
think it would have been a different story if we were both writers, you know?
I see. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
she kind of trusts me to know how to do the nuts and bolts of writing, and I trust her to come up with the ideas for her female forensic scientists, who they are. And it's a fun mix. She's got like five wildly different characters with different specializations coming together. It's kind of like I don't know, the A team or something. So
Yeah.
it's
I love
fun.
that.
It's fun.
That sounds very watchable. I wish you the best of luck with that. Wouldn't it be fun? Oh my gosh, we would have so much fun. All of the people who know you guys to watch something like that actually get all the way onto TV.
Yeah,
We'd all
yeah,
be we'd all be cheering. It would be so much fun.
yeah.
So is there anything else you want to add before we finish up today? I appreciate you joining me here.
Oh, this was so much fun. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And yeah, you're a delight to talk to. So,
Oh, you're so
you
welcome. This is fun. I'm just so nosy. I'm just so nosy. So
good. That's good. Well, you've got the
it's like
journalism background, right?
I guess stay curious, whatever. But thank you
Yeah,
so much. I really appreciate
absolutely.
you joining me.
All right. Thanks, Val.
That's it for today's conversation on this side. Thanks for joining me. And if you would like more interviews like this, please be sure to subscribe.